I've lost my skepticism, but I am interested in learning more about Wiccans.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. In episode 5 of Agatha All Along made it official, Wanda's son Billy has returned as the teen, aka the superhero Wiccan from the comics. So today we are going to go through all the hidden clues that the show peppered in along the way. Now some of these we've caught before, others were buried so deep that we didn't catch them until our second rewatch. And we're also going to explain exactly what this means for the show's other big mystery, Nicholas Scratch, and also the identity of Rio. And I want to talk about how all of this is going to reinvigorate Marvel's Young Avengers project, which was teased here.
You've just become part of a much larger universe.
But fans haven't really responded to the Young Avengers with much enthusiasm, but you should, and I'll explain how the Young Avengers are going to lead into Wanda and Vision saving the multiverse in Avengers Secret Wars. And don't forget everybody, ScreenCrush is about to go on an 11-city tour starting in Boston on November 14th, 1 month from today. You can find links for that and our Discord below. And speaking of our Discord, big shout out to the many fans on there who have been throwing out Agatha theories with us. It has been a lot of fun. Now, let me get the low-hanging fruit out of the way. An early closed caption in the trailer identified the teen as Billy, and there was also a leaked Funko Pop that said Wiccan was going to be in the show. But I should note, I am always dubious of any toy leaks and anything we ever see in a trailer. There was a fake Mephisto leak back in 2021, and of course Marvel lies in their trailers all the time. But we always did think that Wanda's sons would return, just like they do in the comics. After all, Billy even wears a Halloween version of his Wiccan suit in the WandaVision Halloween episode.
Okay, I'm sorry. You gotta explain the comics.
Okay, I will, but look, I'm going to explain the comics very briefly because it feels like we're doing this in every single video. So just in case you don't watch every video we do, here's a very brief recap. So in the comics, Wanda's baby sons turned out to be shards of Mephisto's soul. He's like the Marvel version of the devil.
And just so you know, with this purchase of a soul, I will also give a soul to a child in need.
Yeah, I don't want that.
So when Mephisto reclaimed them, Wanda went a little bit insane, so Agatha Harkness cast a spell on her that made her forget her sons existed. And then years later, she remembered, she destroyed the Avengers subconsciously, then rewrote reality, and then whispered no more mutants, and wiped out like almost every mutant on Earth.
He's not a U.S. citizen, and they don't grant visas to weapons of mass destruction.
She's a kid.
Give me a break!
Afterwards, everybody thought she was dead, but it turns out that Wanda altering those shards of Mephisto's soul backfired on Mephisto and destroyed him temporarily, and then those shards were reincarnated as two teenagers, Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard. These two then became superheroes named Wiccan and Speed, and Wiccan has powers like his mom, and Tommy has super speed powers. Now look, there's a little bit more to their origin than that, which I'll explain later on when I need to. So we remember in the last episode of WandaVision, Wanda placed a spell on Agatha that trapped her in the role of the nosy neighbor.
Hiya, hun.
So then in the show Agatha All Along in episode 1, we learned that Agatha was stuck in that nosy neighbor role for 3 years. But then Herb says,
"You haven't been yourself the past few days. Almost like you got bit by the true crime bug."
Now, Agatha's TV show genre shifted because of what happened in Multiverse of Madness. That movie ended with Wanda being driven insane by the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned, but then she regained her senses long enough to destroy the Darkhold in every other reality. Now, in Deadpool and Wolverine, we did see this Scarlet Witch altar that we saw in Multiverse of Madness, implying that Wanda did survive that encounter, and she ended up in the Void at the end of time. So what happened here is that Wanda's death reverberated and then affected the spell that she cast on Agatha. Subconsciously, Agatha felt that Wanda died, and she also knew that the Darkhold had been destroyed, which is why she sees this in the library.
Everything destroyed.
Every last copy.
So in her fugue state, Agatha still knew snippets of the truth. She started to work out that the book that killed Wanda was the Darkhold, and the author of that book, Andrew Hugo, was an anagram for Wundagore, the mountain where Wanda died. She even finds out that
there were traces of a particular microbial sediment only found in Eastern Europe.
Now, I bring all of this up because she also mentions a car wreck in Eastview.
There was a car wreck about an hour before time of death.
Where?
Eastview.
Now, we've seen a headline for this car accident in the end credits, and clever fans like Building Towers on Twitter have guessed that this car accident could have involved Billy and his family, because later on, Billy tells Alice,
"All happened to me at 13 too."
I'm 16.
And we also know that the events of WandaVision happened 3 years ago. So the running theory is that when the Hex collapsed in Eastview, the spirits of Wanda's sons escaped, and one of them entered the body of this near-death teen, making him the reincarnation of Billy Maximoff.
Now it all makes sense.
And there are even bigger clues than that. And I really do think this time that Mephisto could be one of the villains behind this. And Mephisto is such a great villain because what he does is he infiltrates people's minds and he preys on their bad habits. And I mean, and we can all relate to this. We've we've all got some kind of bad habit we would like to break.
I know I do. I am still not welcome in St. Louis.
Well, for instance, whenever I get like super stressed out, I want to squeeze my face really hard or clench my jaw on one side. So I needed something to help me forget those bad oral fixation habits and replace them with a positive habit. And that is why I started using Fume. They're the sponsor of this video.
Hold on now, person. Is that a vape?
No, Doug, this is not a vape. It's not electronic, and it does not have pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals. Instead, it has these little plant-based cores that are infused with natural flavors to create natural flavored air. You see, guys, the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking. Fume contains no nicotine, it is not addictive, and it contains non-toxic flavors. Instead, it contains plant-based flavors like spearmint ice, cinnamon hearts, and my current favorite, crisp mint.
Oh, that's why your breath has been smelling so nice lately.
Yes, it is. See, guys, with flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that does not use electronics, vapor, or combustion. But mostly, I like that it gives me something to reach for when I'm feeling anxious. It even has movable parts for fidgeting that make an incredibly satisfying sound. And you can get the Fume topper, which is a rubber wrapper for the end, which is good for chewing. Fume has served more than 300,000 customers like myself, and you can be their next success story. For a limited time, use my code ScreenCrush to get your free topper. Now, this is the perfect accessory for your Fume device. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. So head to tryfume.com, that's TRYFUM.com, and use code ScreenCrush or scan the QR code on screen to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey Pack today. So back to Billy. Probably the most obvious hint that Billy was connected to Wanda is that he was able to break through her spell and free Agatha. Remember, Wanda is supposedly the most powerful witch in existence, so it makes sense that Billy, her son, would be one of the few people who could actually break through her spell. And later on, he tells Agatha,
"That's why I saved you from the spell you were under."
So I think the teen was drawn toward Agatha, and I think for two reasons. One, he knew Agatha when he was within the hex. After all, she was his babysitter when he was a kid. And two, both of them are imbued with the magic of the Scarlet Witch. In a way, they're both walking shards of Wanda. It's also telling that he was introduced breaking into Agatha's house, when in the original ending of WandaVision, the boys and Monica Rambeau would have broken into the house and fought a giant mutated rabbit. And then we see the actual sigil for the first time, which of course looks like a cursive W. And thanks to the many members on our Discord who pointed out that this same sigil appears on the promotional art tarot cards that the show released. And look at these cards. This one, the Tower, shows a tower exploding and two people falling. One of them with spiky hair, like Tommy in the Halloween episode. And the other is dressed like Wiccan from the comics. So this Tower card is associated with sudden change, destruction, and liberation. Like Wanda's sudden death liberating the souls of her boys. Later on, we learn
Sigils are destroyed, not lifted. The answer is when they're no longer needed.
Well, then why is the sigil broken in episode 5?
I think it's because Billy realizes that Agatha can't be trusted. In her final moments, Wanda would have placed this sigil on her boys specifically to protect them from Agatha's magic because Agatha would be seeking revenge against Wanda. But there were even more clues than that. The channel Film Paradise points out that Agatha called Joe's spell a clumsy glamour, which was Wanda's magician name from episode 2 of WandaVision.
Make my captivating assistant glamour disappear.
And then in episode 3 of Agatha All Along, Billy stands in front of this painting of a stork, just like the stork that Wanda manifested in the episode where the twins were born. And also, remember, Agatha took note of the teen's fingertips.
What? It's ink from the fingerprinting.
Subconsciously, she would have noted this is what somebody's fingertips look like after they use the Darkhold. And this connects Billy back to Wanda, whose fingertips turned black in Multiverse of Madness after she'd been using the Darkhold. Also, I have to note that the big clue to the teen's identity is his sexuality. In the comics, Billy is gay. In fact, one of his teammates on the Young Avengers is Teddy, aka Hulkling, and they have one of the sweetest romances in Marvel Comics. Now, Hulkling has not been introduced into the MCU yet. Fingers crossed it's not this guy. And there were also numerous hints on the teen's costume. His sweater has a subtle pentagram, like the ones that Billy summons in the comics. We even saw him summon a blue pentagram in the trailer, just like we see him summon in the comic books. And the teen's jeans have stars on the side, just like the stars of Wiccan's costume. And of course, in this last episode, he wears red with a blue headband. And this is just like Wiccan's costume in the comics, but also like the Wiccan Halloween costume that Billy wore in WandaVision. And leading up to the reveal, we see him in control of Jennifer and Lilia, making their eyes glow Mephisto, just like his mom did to the Avengers in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, no, sir, that's what she did to everyone in Westview.
Correct. And of course, the reveal was when he manifested his crown that looks a lot like his mom's, so that's all of the costume clues. And those are all pretty major clues. I mean, fashion is a big part of this show. Billy is essentially a witch nerd, and I know how all of us nerds like to show our fandom in our clothing. And that is why we designed this Agatha All Along parody merch for sale at our merch store, ScreenCrushMerch.com, where we design all the merch ourselves. We have this Get On Losers, We're Walking the Cursed Road, It'll Be a Gas, and the Westview Neighborhood Watch, and this brand new Billy All Along shirt. This is along with our other fun Marvel parody merch that we designed for you guys. Links to those are below. Now, there are a few other questions that all of this raises, like, how? I think the answer is going to be tied into a larger mystery and set up a key part of the multiverse saga. In episode 3, Jennifer Kale made waves when she said,
An agent of Mephisto.
Now, I'm sure this was in here to satisfy all of us fans for our Mephisto theories back in 2021, but also she's teasing the idea that the teen could be a reincarnation of Nicholas Scratch, Agatha's son, or at least that's who Agatha wants to believe he is.
You're so much like your mother.
But more importantly, I'm wondering if Mephisto goes by many names in the MCU, and if one of those names could be
the Chaos God Chthon.
See, Chthon wrote the Darkhold, which includes a prophecy about the Scarlet Witch.
Did you know there's an entire chapter devoted to you in the Darkhold?
That prophecy says that Wanda is destined to destroy the world, and Wanda briefly embraced her role in Chthon's plan.
This isn't a tomb. It's a throne.
So what if Mephisto and Chthon are the same being? Wanda used chaos magic to create her sons. So what if, like in the comics, her sons were always pieces of Mephisto's chaos magic? In other words, what if Billy and Tommy are actually pieces of Mephisto's soul? Now, in Wanda's final moments, she was completely tapped into the magic of Chthon/Mephisto. She was so tied into his essence that she was able to destroy the Darkhold in every reality in an infinite multiverse. So what if, in her final moments, she was able to hear her sons calling out to her from the void of hell?
Like at the end of WandaVision.
Exactly. Then Wanda could have used pieces of Mephisto's soul to reincarnate her children. Now, I want to address the red herring of the show, this idea that the teen was actually Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch. We do hear Jennifer say,
Did you know she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned?
So there is a way that Nicholas could still be Billy Kaplan and also Wanda's son. If Agatha traded Nicholas for the Darkhold, it would mean that Mephisto would have absorbed Nicholas's soul, and that maybe a piece of this soul became Wanda's son's. Something similar happens in the comics. The Salem 7 burn Agatha at the stake, and then Wanda uses all that released energy from Agatha's death to impregnate herself with her sons. So they're kind of actually more Agatha's kids than Vision's.
Yeah, person, I don't know. That's really complicated.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I think that is way too complicated, and the answer is going to be much simpler. The big clue about Nicholas is that Rio is responsible for his death. She admits as much here.
And I had to do something that I did not want to do, even though it was my job.
The running theory is that Rio is actually the MCU's version of Mistress Death. Her knife is the same as the Death Tarot card and the promotional material I mentioned earlier, and there are other clues that we're going to talk about in future videos, but you know, we don't want to spend too much time on that here. Now, I bring all of this up because Rio immediately knew that the teen was not Nicholas.
That boy isn't yours.
Which is why I don't think that Nicholas is going to be tied to the teen in any way. But I do think that Nicholas is going to be the villain in the background pulling the strings just like he is in the comics. But also, like in the comics, God, I hope this is setting up the Young Avengers. Now, when I first heard the name Young Avengers, I assumed they were a team of sidekicks like the Teen Titans. But their history is much deeper than that and fits into the MCU perfectly right now. In the comics, Wanda's little episode led to the Avengers being disassembled. Basically, after the Avengers hid the truth about her sons for so many years, Captain America and Iron Man didn't think that the Avengers deserved to be a team. They were not worthy of the trust people placed in them. So the lack of an Avengers team activated a dormant protocol in Vision's programming. If the Avengers ever did not exist, then Vision's programming would have to seek out people with connections to the Avengers and then bring them together. And this is how the Young Avengers were initially formed. It included heroes like Wiccan, Hulkling, Cassie Lang, Kate Bishop, Patriot, and eventually led to heroes like America Chavez, Speed, Kid Loki, Marvel Boy, and a teen variant of Kane called Iron Lad.
But we don't talk about Kane. No, no, no.
No, I guess we don't. But we keep speculating that the show Vision Quest, which follows White Vision after his moment of clarity, will be setting up the events that create the Young Avengers. Now, Agatha showrunner Jack Schaefer was originally tapped to create that show, but she opted to focus on Agatha. This left an opening for Picard Season 3 showrunner Terry Matalas to take over the Vision project, which is currently currently casting roles right now. Now, I should note that the original mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania would have left Scott and Hope stranded in the quantum realm, and then Cassie discovered a file on Hank's computer for the Avengers Protocol, very similar to what Vision's programming activates in the comics. But instead of that, in the Marvels, Kamala Khan used Nick Fury's iPad to find other teen heroes. She starts with Kate Bishop.
You've just become part of a much larger universe.
And then they tease they're going to recruit Cassie Lang.
I do have feelers out, though. Did you know Ant-Man had a daughter?
And there are other people the MCU has put into place to join this team. Elijah Bradley is the hero Patriot, and we saw him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I guess that in the movie Brave New World, maybe he'll get that blood transfusion from his granddad that supposedly gave him powers in the comics. We also have Scar, America Chavez, and now Wiccan, and eventually Speed. So let's say that Young Avengers is announced soon, maybe as a TV series. It would likely adapt the Children's Crusade. In this story, the twins realize that their mom is alive and they go off to find her. Very long story short, Wanda has amnesia and she's being mind controlled, and then they help her start to redeem her past actions. So I think this is all set up for a TV series that will come between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Doomsday will end with Doctor Doom collapsing the multiverse and creating Battleworld, or at the very least, ruling over the Void. Remember, we got that hint that Scarlet Witch is alive in the Void with her altar that we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine. And leaker Daniel RPK has said that all of the MCU projects released between Avengers movies, like Spider-Man 4, will be set on Battleworld. So maybe, with the help of a multiversal hopping America Chavez, the Young Avengers travel the multiverse to find Wanda, but then finally find her in the Void. And, like we've theorized many times before, she is reunited with Vision in Secret Wars. They work together. Maybe Vision restores her memory, like how his memory is restored, and then the entire saga ends with Wanda and Vision working together to recreate the multiverse. This could fulfill the prophecy that the Scarlet Witch destroys the world, in this case the entire multiverse, but it would also fulfill her role as a mother in the MCU and bring her story and the multiverse saga full circle. Just a reminder, everybody, to get your Fume Journey Pack today, click our link in the description. Also, links for our live show, merch, and Discord are below. So what do you think about this? Were there any Billy hints that we missed? Let me know down in the comments or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.